Wow, there you go. That's the way to start a show. I feel like I need a cape. We all need capes, actually. We should all start the show flying in with capes next week. How are you guys doing? It's Greg Oliar and LB here on the after show. Nice to see everybody. Thank you for joining us. I can't believe
I feel better after that stirring intro music. Wow.
Isn't it great?
Stuff, right?
Isn't it great?
Woo!
I actually want to play it again, but I'll do it later on because it's so much fun.
Yeah.
Matthew Fosa, I want to say. Fasa.
FTW. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Oh, is that Matt? Oh.
Yeah, and he is so talented. And by the way, does personal ringtones for people. If people want to, get your own personal ringtone, Matt will do that for you later on. We'll explain how. We'll explain how later. But what a nice opening! I asked him for something stirring and hopeful, and out came something that sounds a little like the Star Trek theme, but also like the Lone Ranger. And I don't know. I like the whole thing. It's fun. It's fun to listen to. We've had a big week in the world of news, and 2 weeks since I've seen you last. It's a whole list of things to go to.
What happened in that time, Zach? What happened?
Nothing happened. Nothing happened.
What happened?
Oh,
What happened?
Oh. It's Bev's birthday. Bev's birthday this week. This last week. No, Bev. It's Bev's birthday.
I think there's a card.
Oh wow. Oh.
I'm a mom, so these are the cards that we have. Okay, here we go. Oh wait, hey, I always get the
life lessons from a dog.
From a dog.
That's amazing.
I'm gonna read your birthday card.
Okay. I'm very reluctant about this.
Stay curious. Oh, don't. Stay curious. Say yes to treats. Life's short. Have fun. Naps are essential. Naps.
They are. That's how I survive on naps.
Just be you. You're wonderful as you are. Happy birthday. Love the Bible.
Oh, you are so damn
there
sweet. Oh, look at that.
There we go.
Life lessons from a dog. So nice
got
of you.
A little card.
Oh, thank you so much. I don't know I'm going to get it here, but it's very exciting.
A little bit of childhood there.
It was a few days ago, by the way, my birthday. It's not actually my birthday today, so it's past now. We don't have to do any more of that.
I thought we were going to do that for the full hour. We're just going to do birthday.
Yeah. I've got birthday surprises. I've got costume changes. You won't believe what's going to come up next. In fact, I don't even know what's next because we got such a full list of stories. And Greg, you have a good handle on all these, much better than I do today because I've been running around doing a bunch of non-newsy things. But we should start talking about Joe Biden. I think that's the place to begin if there's any place to start. And this how he's handling the vax mandate. I think
the whole thing, I want to say, first of all, in this time that we've been off, even since the last show has been an incredibly newsworthy time.
Yes.
Lots of stuff has happened in the last 2 weeks that's like, oh my God, and
Afghanistan feels like it's like 2 months ago, 3 months ago, and it's only like
I'm including that also. I don't know. I've lost all track of time, but it feels like, the Afghanistan thing. He's trying to get the infrastructure bill passed. And now he's basically had it up to here with the people that refuse to get vaccinated, and he's throwing his weight around in the federal government to make sure that and give people tremendous incentive to get the damn shot, which is something, by the way, that works. People are like, oh, I'm not going to get the shot. You're imposing on my freedom, and then we say you need to get the shot to go to the football game, and they're like, oh, where can I get the shot?
Right.
It becomes very limiting. That's how committed they are.
Yeah.
If you inconvenience them in the slightest bit, you're going to get the damn shot. So, here, the whole Biden thing also, he's been pummeled by the media so far. Attacked and pummeled by the media. and I don't understand. I mean, I don't watch this shit on TV really, but I get, you get the clips from Twitter, and I don't know if they're trying to be all like, well, we were hard on Trump, so we're going to be hard on Biden, even though they were never hard on Trump ever for a fucking second.
This is what they do like, now. I mean,
we have to not be the liberal media, but there is no liberal media. These guys are all, what is it? 5 corporations own the whole damn thing.
Yep.
I don't know what's into Jake Tapper. I don't know if
and like Zucker 2 oligarchs own the 5 corporations.
Exactly. Look, there's no doubt. It's so true. It's so true. There's not a lot of diversity in the media ownership in this country, and then you get, I guess they feel like they have to look like they're doing their job, so they start attacking whoever's in power. But I don't get it because there's a difference between Trump and Biden. I mean, Biden is, for one thing, acting in the American interest, where Trump was acting in Russia's interest, and that's a big, significant difference. You can't just wash right past that. But
the Republicans are trying to kill their children in the schools right now. They're literally doing things to kill their own children. That's what they're doing. That's the level of evil that we've been slowly, frog in the boiling water, like that kind of thing. We're at the level where leaders of the Republican Party in states like Florida, in Texas, in Mississippi, in South Dakota are actively trying to kill their own kids by doing these we can't have anything in the school that mandates masks. I mean, that's where we are as a society right now in this country. That's where we are. And Biden is basically saying, hey, maybe let's not kill the kids. Maybe instead of killing the kids.
He's actually, go ahead. Instead of killing the kids,
let's do something where we actually don't kill the kids and maybe save them. And the best thing he did, what I wanted to say when we wrote down the little notes for this, I wasn't sure about Biden coming in because I thought he was too old. I wanted Kamala. I want a Gen X person. I want a woman in power. The last thing I wanted was an old white guy in power, right?
Right.
Okay. But the benefit of having a guy like Biden in power who is as old as he is he does not give a shit. He doesn't care about running for the next thing. He doesn't care about this or that donor. He doesn't fucking care. He's there and he's going to do what he thinks is right. And so far, what he thinks is right has been right.
Yeah.
And I love that. Today, in the press conference, was it today or yesterday when they came at him and what are the governors, in the states? What are you going to do when you get sued? And he just said, have at it.
Right.
Fuck yeah, have at it. That's what he said. I like that.
It's good that they're having these legal battles, I guess, because it's important that, the president's, overseen by some sort of body that's independent of him. But these are such common sense ideas that he has. Like, of course, people should get vaccinated. It's not like that means we're approving of the virus. It's not like an endorsement on the virus. We just think everyone should get vaccinated because it's a way to keep going forward and not killing people. But I guess Republicans have a very different view of that, and I always wonder why. What do they have?
This is where I'm going to go crazy.
Yeah.
This is what makes me nuts. This is a psyop. We need to just stop it. Everybody just stop it. Stop it with Jake Tapper coming on. Is like, has he been too mean to the unvaccinated? Shut the fuck up. This is an attack. It's an attack. Yes, he did. It's an attack. We are under attack. 600,000, probably 700,000, probably over 1 million Americans are dead. They're dead. They're gone forever. Children are getting sick and dying over this fucking performative nonsense. None of these motherfuckers believe anything that they're saying. None of these GOP believe anything that they're putting out there. It's performance art for votes and power grabs. That's it. They're all fucking vaccinated. Their kids are all vaccinated. They're not sending their kids into. This is what it is. The Texas thing with the abortion was the same thing. He knows that that's going to get struck down. You can't enable a whole bunch of private citizens to be bounty fucking hunters and go and bring it into court. They know that, but they get to do their little fucking Photoshop, making their little stupid ass meme performative artwork so that they can try to keep consolidating their base and they can topple democracy in the end because they just want to be a bunch of fucking oligarchs. That's all they fucking want. They just want to privatize everything and walk away with $1 billion of their own. They're tired of going on the yachts with the oligarchs and seeing the honeypots that those guys roll out and saying, well, you know what? I want this for myself. That's all this is. That's all it is. It's
I think it might be even worse
cosplay.
than that. I think
It's
it might.
patriot cosplay. It's to topple democracy, and it's to fucking kill us. They're killing us, and I'm sick of it. Joe Biden pulled, as someone said on Twitter, he pulled the car over. Dad just pulled the car over and screamed at the kids, right? And I did something like that too. It's like, this is a fucking enough. You're putting everybody at risk. It's for performance art. It's horseshit. And I'm sick of it. I don't want to hear any fucking, I'm off all that fucking cable shit. Fuck those fuckers for both siding a pandemic, as if we're all supposed to kowtow to the emotional feelings of a bunch of Facebook Fox News zombies that have just plugged their dicks in their empty, hollow hearts and their racism into devices and into talking news heads that are all fucking owned by the Kremlin or anyway. I'm sorry. This is my rant. I don't want to hear it. There's no news in both siding a pandemic. And let's think about the unvaccinated. Fuck the unvaccinated.
That wasn't what I was going to say.
Vaccine. I know you're not saying that. I'm talking to the. I'm talking.
Yeah,
to
I hear you. You're 100% right. You're 100%
I
right.
have had enough. Joe can't talk like this. I will channel. I'll be the thing behind Joe, right? Like they did with Obama, with the Obama's inner voice, right? This is the inner voice. It's all bullshit. Everybody needs to stop taking it seriously. It's stupid. It's asinine, but it's also deadly. It's sociopathic mass murder. When are we going to stop this? Just call it what it is. They're murderers.
It's a genocide. I mean, it really is a genocide.
It's a genocide. Yeah. It's a genocide for a meme.
Yeah, and for other purposes, I actually think there's a bit of, you can't say a bit of. There's an ethnic cleansing thing going on here. There's a racial cleansing thing going on here. There is
there's a
much more.
Cleansing thing going
there's
on.
a lot going on here that is not just a meme. I mean, I think the reason that they're doing a lot of this is to reduce the number of non-white voters in their states. I mean, I think that's a real reason, or at least a real benefit in their mind of what's going on here. And I think that's, we haven't yet been able to prove that, but it certainly looks like the number of unvaccinated people of all races happen to be higher in those states, no matter what how you look at the numbers. And more people who are non-white are in hospitals, and more people who are non-white are dying in hospital from COVID in those unvaccinated states. So in the red states, that's what's going on. That's how the numbers flow out. It's not the rich MAGA crowd or or people who voted for Donald Trump that are landing up in the hospital. Maybe some of them, yes. But for the most part, it's the same thing. It's the same, it's people who have to go out of their homes to work. It's because they can't afford any other kind of work, or they're living in cramped quarters, or they're just doing more to survive. They need to survive because they're poorer. And that's why those are the people that are landing up in the hospital.
They're ending in the hospital. Also, the thing is it's all just also about, it's okay to use any American body, even their own voters, any American body to damage Joe Biden. Right. So this is where this is the other part of it, is that it's also all the sacrificial. It's like we've walked through some warped portal where everyone's back to that hedonistic. Let's just let the heads roll down and sacrifice to the gods, but the gods are themselves and their own thirst and bloodlust for power.
And everybody wants to get back to normal. There is no back to normal. We're not getting back to normal. There's no, this pandemic will be followed by something else, and something else after that, and something else after that, unless we turn this whole thing around. It's just a never-ending list of diseases and vaccines that they're going to be able to put out year after year after year. They'll make tons of money, and we will want to maintain our normalcy. So we'll keep leaning into this and leaning into it. And there is a danger in saying, everyone needs to be vaccinated because we want to get back to normal, because really there's a problem with the fact this pandemic's going on in the first place. And we need to confront the reasons behind this pandemic. But we're in no position to do that yet. I mean, I don't think we're yet even in a powerful position to go and talk to the Chinese about why they didn't share the information when they needed to at the beginning of this pandemic, about why we're actually in this position and who's responsible for putting us in this position. We're still not there yet. Nor have we.
The Chinese gave the RNA code to the Americans in what, a week and a half after it was released. I mean,
they get the code.
I don't know what more they're supposed to do. Like
there's they closed off everything. We don't know anything about what happened in China during that first period of time. We also don't know, and we don't even know if that's the code. We just have a genetic sequence they gave us. We never saw any of the samples. They destroyed or hid every of the other samples that they had in Wuhan. So there's a whole lot of questions around that early stage of infection, which we've forgotten about now because we're having such a crisis. And beyond that, Russia, so I always go back to Russia, is laughing at this because this is exactly what they want. They want an America divided. They want an America yelling at each other about all these things. They want us to hate each other because one side's decided to get vaccinated, the other side's not going to get vaccinated. This is their dream. And yes, news networks are pushing the same agenda. And they're watching America self-destruct in front of their eyes without having to do very much. All they had to do was to polarize us through these mass media campaigns. It's depressing, really, but I don't know how we get out of it. Actually, to be honest, it's going to be a complicated road out.
Well, what he's doing is helping, and I want to say one thing because I think it's an important distinction.
We vaccinate our way out of it,
but the distinction here is. There is not, while there is significant overlap between MAGA people and the unvaccinated, it is by no means a direct overlap, right? There are plenty of wackadoodle lefties that don't want to get vaccinated.
I'm with them all. Out here in California.
There's people that are just afraid, that don't know any better. There's people that are lazy. So when the things that Biden is doing right now, by the way that law is written, as I understand it, or the executive order, is, hey, you don't have to require vaccinations, but if you don't, you have to test everybody every week and you have to pay for it.
Yes.
Your company, which means that every company has a tremendous financial incentive to require that everybody be vaccinated, which is what he wants. Because at this point, it's not early on. The damn thing is FDA approved. The numbers speak to themselves. This is a math problem. Your chances of getting COVID and dying of COVID are much greater than whatever you think is going to happen to you if you take the vaccine.
Oh, yeah.
That's just math.
Okay, I have a prediction. Let's get out of this with a prediction and move on.
Yeah.
My prediction is that by the time we get to the holidays, unless there's a new variant that these insane addicts of disinformation have cooked up in their bodies, because that's all they are. That's all they are. They're not thinking individuals. They're just cookers of the next variant. So, and if that aside, I think we're actually going to be pretty much through this by the holidays, which will be amazing. I do. Yeah. I think there's going to be a lot more vaccinations, and I think we're going to be in good shape by.
Now we have said that before. We said this almost a year ago. I mean, it's kind of like amazing when you think about how this thing is just dragged on. It just keeps going on and going on. And that's why I think Biden did lose his patience with everyone and said it's time to stop. I mean, it really is time to stop. It really is.
He brings them to water. He keeps bringing the horses to water. And then Jake Tapper's like, Biden's horses aren't drinking the water. And it's like, yo, fuckhead, that's not his job. His job is to bring them to the water. If the horses can't drink it and don't want to drink it and think it's their impinging on their freedom to drink the fucking water, that's on the horses. It was the same thing.
It's also not news. It's not news.
Yeah. It's not. They don't do news.
The emotional state of people who are drowning in disinformation is not a headline. It's not.
It's not.
Who fucking cares?
They don't do the news anymore. They do conflicts. They do tension. They do, let's wind everybody up. Let's have everybody fight against each other. That's what Jeff Zucker is in there to do. That's why he's never seems to leave.
Right.
I mean, he was meant to have resigned and retired a while ago.
Oh my God, how many heart attacks and things has this guy said he's had? He had to get himself out of there and none of it's happened.
He's not leaving. He's there. He's staying in there.
Sorry, guys.
I mean, it's enough. It's just, you got to the point where it's just like, we've got to stop these news machines from continuing this. Oh, hello. That's my Siri. That's what my Siri sounds like.
Oh, we didn't hear it.
It's okay. He was just asking. He was just asking if I could say that again to him. But I don't need him right now.
Oh,
So
you don't need to.
I don't need.
Does
Siri.
he have a French accent?
No, he has a bit of an Australian accent, actually, which is kind of interesting.
Oh,
I didn't know.
does?
I've never spoken to him before. He's actually new to me as well. So
He is. Okay.
I just
I
accidentally
think
pressed a
that's
button, and there he was. So I was like, "Oh, hello." What's your Siri, LB? Is it a man or a woman or they?
I just tell her to shut up. I don't know. I can't remember. I'm not interested in Siri, and I don't want Siri talking to me, and I keep having to turn Siri off, and I have no interest. But
Siri is like that paper clip that used to come off. Remember, and it's like, "Hi, I'm your assistant."
The
in
Microsoft
Word 3.0. I couldn't click that thing to leave fast enough. Get the fuck out of here!
I know.
It's like the alarm that goes off on my fridge, which I can't stand, because when it's always like I always leave the door open somehow, and then I'm always like on the other side of the room, and I'm about to sit down, and then it goes off. It doesn't go off when I'm there. It just waits for me to go to the other side. I hate it. Can't turn it off. But that's what the Siri's like to me. Boy, we digressed a little, but I thought maybe it was a good thing. So where do we go from here? I do think Biden has done a particularly effective few months, and I can't imagine why Americans would think otherwise. I just look at this man's
they don't
every week.
If you look at the polling, they don't.
Yeah. Well,
they don't think otherwise.
Yeah. I mean, some of the, I think he got a bad rub of Afghanistan. I think they did a great job. And lo and behold, look, the Taliban are actually letting people out of the country on regular flights, and all that fear mongering that these poor Americans are going to get trapped in there and never be released, and they'll be fighting their way to freedom. Well, that didn't happen, actually. They're being, out going through organized commercial flights day after day after day, just like Biden said that they would be doing. Frankly, he handled that quite well, I think. So, that's a big win for him. I thought the storms were unbelievable. I forgot about the storms almost. Isn't that incredible? And I bet you there's still so many people that are just like, still don't have power probably in parts of Louisiana. And then the storms in the Northeast. I mean, just unbelievable reminder of climate change in our world, which is here. And you're experiencing it there as well in LB in California.
It's very, very bad here. I don't know. I don't know. I love California so much. I do. This is my home. It's been my home for a very long time, longer than any other place I've lived. And it is forever changed. And I have this conversation with so many of my longtime friends who've been here for a long time. And it's a real threat. So it was interesting. I listened to, it was like on Twitter, someone captured a clip of Jay Johnson, and I'm not advocating a position on him because I know that people get all weird about that, but he was saying, I think it was around a 9/11, like what's coming up, and he was saying, that the actual three greatest threats we face now, connected to this Afghanistan thing, Greg, of like, is international terror really our biggest threat anymore? What is it now? And I believe it was him, and he said, it's climate change. Here's a top 5: climate change, climate change, climate change.
Wow.
And then it was.
Do you know what Americans say to that, by the way?
Then it was domestic terrorism. Yeah.
Americans say violent crime, coronavirus, and extreme weather. So extreme weather is there. It's number 3. But they still think violent crime is the biggest one.
Yeah.
There they go.
Yeah. Well,
what is the panda, Greg?
Oh, the panda. The pandas from the bear story I was doing. I was enjoying the graphics, so I was using him. But I'll get to the bears a little later because that is a good story to talk about.
Oh.
We got other things to talk about. This is the bear in Pennsylvania, the Russian spy that was doing all this insurrection meetings and holding the Nazi launch party at the barn. And organizing all these stop the steal rallies in Pennsylvania, because that's what you do when you're just dropping into Pennsylvania after living in Russia for 20 years. He arrives there in 2018, buys 3 properties, launches his American version of his Russian websites called Russia Insider and a bunch of other things, and starts, I think, funneling money from Russia into these publications, and then God
You
knows to
think?
whom. And one would think that's how it worked. And then on top of that, he's got this like giant barn, which is like perfect, like concealed from the street. You can't see it from anywhere. And it's where you could hold the launch meeting for the National Justice Party, which is the Nazi Party of America, because that's what you can do. And you can rile up white nationalists. His partner in crime is out on the West Coast getting the Movie Guide mailing list and mining the mailing list for all the Christian right names he could find off that list, so that they could mine for all these, people who can come and join the National Justice Party. And then he hooks up with Sean Moon of the Moonies, as one does. And they start calling for the free and fair elections of Pennsylvania, and that there was a recount, and that the election was stolen. And it just so obvious what was going on. I mean, if you look at it, I guess in hindsight it was obvious, but I guess if you were there at the time, it was also obvious. And this guy just did this, and then he has a week before the insurrection, he has Sean Moon and his friends staying over at the barn, and on that same day, all of the insurrection leaders had a meeting in the same town, not in the same barn, but in the same town, to discuss their plans. So now you've got a Russian spy. I mean, supposed Russian spy, let's say, because we can't say for sure, but it sure looks like one, in all the meetings for planning the insurrection and organizing the rallies and bringing people in and encouraging them to do this. It's a Russian op, as many of us would have suspected, but it sure looks like a Russian op now. Which, if you're Kevin McCarthy and you're worried about why you might be compromised, I think that would be one of the reasons they might be a bit challenged here, because now it looks a little treasony. It doesn't even look just like an insurrection by Americans. It looks like an insurrection by Americans with Russians.
It's very domestic, and the organizers are extreme opportunists. I think is sort of, this is the best for me. This is the best way to talk about it now until more comes out.
Yeah,
but there clearly was a plan.
Yeah,
and there are organizers with the plan. There was a timeline. Things went off according to timeline. Sandy Bacon, by the way, had the best. She's been harping, and harping is the wrong word, but just sort of hammering this, right? Hammering this. The sequence of events of this was a planned event. They had it planned down to the hour. Something happened and threw things off a little bit. And that is why maybe some things didn't succeed in terms of being able to take the Capitol. I have been saying for quite a while, I think this was a hostage-taking plan. I think that if there is a plan in place to take hostages as part of a larger coordinated event, that there's always going to be somebody on the inside that's like a negotiator, like going to come out and say, I'm speaking for the blah, blah, blah. I want to know who that person. I'm interested in this stuff. I'm sorry, guys. I'm not trying to be conspiratorial. I'm just interested in, this was a highly organized, planned event. It was. You can't, there's no way to look at what was out there in the public. And they were telling us, we're planning this. Hey, we're planning this. Oh, hey. And you can look at their communication channels. They're like, yep, we're going to do that. He's going to call the National Guard. Then they're going to be able to suspend all these buffoons that everyone's focusing on. Even they had the plan.
They met the Russian coordinator the week before, just to make sure they had it all right.
There was some stuff going on there. So we're waiting to hear, and I hope we hear. I hope we're not just seeing all of the day play actors, right? That got enrolled in that, getting trotted before court and getting slapped for the trespassing and going home, and that's all we.
I mean, those are the only people who end up going to jail for this and serving time for this. This is a waste of time. It's a waste of time to have Merrick Garland in that office. I don't care. It's just, I don't know why. I'm going to give him time. He wants time. Let's see what happens. But, we have a good idea of what happened that day. I mean, we've all been investigating this in different ways. With the huge crowd of people that are doing this, we sort of know what happened. They have the same idea. It's probably the same picture. They're not arresting the people that you think you'd arrest if you had the same picture. I mean, by now, it's kind of stunning that people like Roger Stone or Alex Jones or Michael Flynn are still out there, unless they're, I don't know, unless they're just not allowed to be arrested. That's the only.
Flynn's brother still at the Pentagon?
He's at the command of the. Yeah,
He transferred to Hawaii, didn't
the
he?
Pacific Fleet. He was in charge of the Pacific Fleet, which is great because that's what you want someone like Charles Flint to be. Or not Charles Flint, the other Flint. But you'll appreciate the name that this guy from Pennsylvania. He's basically tied into the Malofiev world of oligarchs, meaning the Russian Orthodox Church and that whole crowd. So he's on the extreme of oligarchs as far as oligarchs go.
I didn't have that little piece of data. So you just said that.
Yeah, so it's interesting. Konstantin Malofiev, who's a piece of work. And you can't get a picture of Malofiev and Putin together, which is kind of amazing. Because normally these oligarchs, love to get their picture with Putin, but these two, no photos out there. Amazing. I want to know what's going on in your mind. You're thinking something, but you're not going to tell us. Are you going to tell us?
No.
Oh, well, tell me afterwards. I want to know what you mean. What's all that going? That's interesting.
That's all right. Yeah. Next topic.
Okay. Uh-oh.
Next topic.
What is the next topic? I don't have any more.
Let's stay on the insurrection for a minute, because this is also I feel like, and this just occurred to me now as we're talking, one of the things that is a problem with the way that the mainstream media presents this stuff, no matter what it happens to be, is the constant gaslighting, and under the guise of both sidesing things. And I feel like, as with the vaccines, we know what's going on with the vaccines. Everybody's supposed to get them. The sooner everybody gets them, the sooner this ends. And people are not getting them. And that's the fucking problem. But the way the media has it presented, the newspapers want to write about all these vaccine hesitant people and blah, blah, blah. We need to understand the psychology. We can't be mean to them because that won't make them get the vaccine. All this kind of weird, like non-news shit. And it just makes you think, am I crazy that this is easier than I think? And with the insurrection, it's the same thing. Sandy was there that day. She had video. She's been saying since literally that day, hey, there were guys with bullhorns telling everybody what to do. They had fucking
the same bullhorns. It was like the tiki torches. Where did you guys go and get all those? Someone bought some shit in bulk and handed it out.
From China and all sorts of things. They were very specifically chosen.
Go ahead, Greg. It's important to look at things that way.
I don't know what the ultimate plan is, but I think, look at the thing that happened in Michigan. And look at what they were planning to do with the governor of Michigan. They were going to kidnap her and do all this stuff. Was that kind of a trial run, or kind of a, hey, let's open this play off Broadway before we bring it, here to the Great White Way, and the Times critic is there, or whatever. I don't know, but I feel like, Zev, to your point, nobody's talking about this stuff. It's okay. I'm really happy that the QAnon shaman, who might as well, by the way, QAnon shaman, I know you can't hear me because you're in jail. Might as well change your fucking name to QAnon shaman, because that's how everyone is going to call you for the rest of your fucking life, you fucking asshole. QAnon shaman. I don't even want to know whatever your real name is. It doesn't exist anymore. It's a dead name now.
Oh my
You're
gosh.
The QAnon shaman forever. That's your fucking punishment, asshole.
So
anyway,
true.
As glad as I am that he's in prison and stuff like that, it's like, why are we focusing on these people? And I've said this before on the show, and you said it just now. Why Roger Stone, Mike Flynn, Bannon, these guys are fucking dangerous. Yeah. They should not be out. Yeah. And we already fucking convicted them of something,
Yeah.
And I put this on Twitter, and just contest the pardons of these guys that they've already been convicted, right? And legal Twitter is like, well, the pardon power is
fuck off, legal Twitter.
Yeah.
But
fuck
is it really? Is it?
These people
Trump
are not.
Is like,
he's a Russian asset. He's a Russian asset. He doesn't. What he did doesn't count.
We are in uncharted territory. If I was in charge, I would be like,
his conspirators.
Yeah.
Get Stone here. He's going to go to prison right the fuck now. Go get him, detain him, and send him on his sentence. And if he wants to appeal it from prison, fucking let him. It can wend its way through the courts, and let that sleazy fuckhead worry about that and plan his own defense instead of planning to topple the government. And
I think Biden could do that. I think Biden can also do that.
Then do it. If it doesn't work, and in 6 months he's free, fine. That's 6 months of time that he was off doing something else.
I want to be clear that you're not advocating political persecution. What Greg is talking about is there's crimes here.
Lots of
There's
crimes
actual crimes
in front of
here.
our eyes.
Lots and lots of crimes, and he's a co-conspirator of the guy who pardoned him. And there is a way to challenge pardons based on that. And so I'm like, fuck legal Twitter, but we got this information from former prosecutors who are on the side of challenge the corrupt pardons. It's not challenging all the pardons. It's challenging the corrupt pardons. There's
the co-conspirator pardon. And also, by the way, legal Twitter, while we're at it, we know why it won't work. We know that argument.
Yeah.
Give us the argument for why it will. That's your fucking job. If you can't contribute that, then shut the fuck up. Okay?
Can we write our own laws?
I don't need legal Twitter to be like, well, Greg, it can't because of the blah, blah. I need you to tell me how it can work. Isn't that how these mafia guys do it? They're like, the mafia guy, they'll say,
yes,
well,
it is.
And the oligarch says, fuck that, figure out how we can do it. And then their high-priced lawyers figure it the fuck out. That's what we need legal Twitter to do.
That's how we got the abortion law in Texas. I mean, that's how they basically figured a way around the system. They did it. We can figure out a way around the system too. Sorry.
Well, okay, all right. We're pivoting into something I was
going to try pivot. I was going to try pivot, but I was going to.
I can make the pivot. Do you need to do an ad though? I know you have your ad.
You know what? I do, but because there's only one today, that we have a little more time, so we can keep going because I got to find it and stuff.
So I want to do the pivot into then what happens with the Twitter and social media and all these different voices and all this different stuff that's going on. So, and this is a little bit of a reflective thing. And if we want to take a break after sort of we set it up and come back and talk more about it and let everybody sort of marinate in some of these thoughts, I think would be great. So, here we are, the three of us. We've been doing this now, not necessarily narrative together, that we've been doing that for a year or so, but before that and how we found each other and came together, it's been about a 5-year outward journey for the three of us that have been on the front lines of this sort of information war that we're in. This is why Alex Jones took information wars, because they knew an information war was coming. So, this sort of narrative warfare and in the space that, if everyone can recollect 5 years ago, when it comes to Twitter and social media, Facebook had its own lane, Twitter has its lane. But the very bad guy that is an asset of a foreign power and also came out of the womb of organized crime and ended up being elected president, this is his space that he operated in until he got booted. So we, in order to counter his horseshit and be in there with him, we had to join in and add our voice to this. In the process of that, there's been this whole thing has evolved. We all started out with, okay, we know something really bad has happened here. Let's try to figure it out, because we were not getting the full story from the traditional news sources. Just to bring it back around to how we're complaining still about them. A lot of that was just being overwhelmed. A lot of it was, it'd been co-opted to be sort of entertainment news instead of real journalism for quite a long time. So, and no one really saw it because we didn't have a crisis like we did with this presidency, this former presidency. So we all dove in and we just tried to piece it together. Zev had his piece. I had my piece. Greg had his piece. There was probably, I would say, a good 20 to 30 of us, if you really boil it down. There were a lot of people adding stuff in, but the people who were really unpacking and piecing it together outwardly, openly, and with one another, it wasn't that big of a number. That's where we started. Then it evolved into, okay, we got the story now. We all had to figure out how to get the story out there. Zev launched narrative. I started doing these massive threads, pulling all the research together and then working on projects that, have taken time to come into fruition. Greg had a Medium, right? And then that evolved into Prevail. So we had these platforms we were building that could go with our social media on Twitter that could actually then start telling the story so people could get it, right? That's where now it's like, now we have to look at this. Okay, we're telling the story's being told. We've really been clear about it. What now? Where are we at now with this very unique form of activism that actually is about being an influencer,
Mm-hmm.
right? None of us wanted to be influencers. We stepped into the role of being influencers. You guys listened to us and elevated us to that, that because of our followers, they put us there, which was a gift, because they said, okay, we believe you. We think you've got you've got it. And so we're going to elevate your voice and keep sharing your voice. And we're so grateful for all that. And be in this with us. So now we have this voice, we have these platforms, we have a lot of power. We really, really do. And the question is now, how are we going to use that the most effectively? And to start unpacking what it is to be an influencer in this space and what it means and what the responsibility of that is. I saw a very dear friend of mine, as you guys may have saw or been aware of, yesterday, speak from the role of influencer and say pressure works, because we have all been putting our voice and our pressure onto the Attorney General Merrick Garland to just fucking talk to us, and also communicate to us about what you're doing. It's not about compromising investigation. That again is conflation. Don't listen to anybody conflating that. They're out to destroy the narrative. They're out to destroy the discourse. It's just as bad as Jake Tapper wanting us to all get into the fields of the unvaccinated and somehow give that power. Okay. The people who are trying to shut down the voices of influencers who are now saying, hey, our voice mattered, right? It matters. Keep it up. We now need to, I think, be real clear about what that voice is, how to direct it, and what to do about the attacks that we're getting from people that don't want us to believe that our voice matters in any way, shape, or form, because they somehow well of expertise about the inner workings of the Justice Department, that inside their argument they're saying no one can really know what this is. but me, right? Mm-hmm. So I want to take a break. I want to come back. I want to think about that, of like, why is that productive? Why is it productive to shoot down the encouragement of raising up our voices? How is that? What the fuck is that, everybody? Why are you doing that? There's a lot of crossfire going on right now between people in all kinds of corners of what used to be a collective, and they're viciously attacking one another and spending all of their time doing that. From that to then, coming at Allison Gill and telling her that her voice doesn't matter, it doesn't have any impact, and she just doesn't understand the way that the Justice Department works. This patronization. So, it was bad. So I think there's a thing to think about and discuss is, how can we stop collapsing, conflating the kind of cries like what Greg and I have taken out to the table, saying, Merrick Garland, talk to us, come talk to us. Guess what? We're in a narrative warfare. How do we know this? Because what I just said, for the last 5 fucking years, we've been fighting this war. You can't leave a vacuum of silence and win. Look what fills it up. Look what the other people, they're loud. The enemies are loud. The people who want us to die are loud. Ron DeSantis is loud. He wants death and death of children. Greg Abbott and all his handmaidens, loud. They're loud. They're filling the void with their nonsense, with their memes, with their horseshit, with their bullshit. And they're radicalizing people to the degree that we have a domestic terror threat in this nation that coming up on the 20-year anniversary of 9/11 is far greater than any threat we faced outside. That was I know that was a big act of violence, and over 2,000 people were gone in a second. 600, 700, 800,000 Americans are dead from the people who are conjoined in this. We're going to destroy America from within as domestic actors with help from foreign influence, by just using a loud voice and weaponizing people's minds.
Well, that is a good place to take a commercial break, and it's really interesting. That's really interesting. Wow, well said. Lots of food for thought there, and we'll be back to talk about it in a second. Thanks for supporting Narrative. If quality and craftsmanship is important to you, you should check out today's sponsor, Made In. Made In is a cookware and kitchenware brand that works with renowned chefs and artisans to produce some of the world's best pots, pans, knives, and wine glasses. The best chefs around the world use Made In cookware and kitchenware to create all the best tasting restaurant quality meals. Made In sources the finest material and partners with renowned craftsmen to make premium kitchen tools available directly to you without the markup. Their cookware distributes heat evenly and transitions from stovetop to the oven with absolute ease. And their knives are fully forged, perfectly balanced, and stay sharp. Pots, pans, knives, and wine glasses produced by Made In are among the best in the world. They are built to last and offer a lifetime warranty. They have 28,000 plus 5-star reviews, and their products are used by some of the world's best chefs at Michelin-starred restaurants around the world. Made In, better cookware for better meals. And right now, Made In is offering our listeners and viewers, that means you, 15% off your first order with promo code NARRATIVE, NARATIV. That is the best discount code available anywhere online for Made In products. Go to madeincookware.com/narrative and use the code narrative for 15% off. Fully forged and perfectly balanced. That sounds like you, Greg.
Thanks, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, it seemed to work. It seemed to work. That was so provocative, LB. Before we went into the break, that's so interesting what you're saying, because it is a difficult space, because the enthusiasm is not as high as it was when we had Trump to get rid of. Inside this part of the world,
Right.
I think.
I feel like the anger is higher, though. It's just an interesting thing. And instead of finding the continuing to find the framework to continue to put the information out, that's what I'm doing. I'm just going to keep putting it out there and keep laying the bricks, right? I have that metaphor of like, it's like you're in Oz, right? And then nobody knows they're in Oz. And it's like, okay, guys, I know that there's been 100 years of history of how the world really works, and it's been kept from you. And so we're gonna lay these bricks down and keep and put it in a pattern and get from A to Z so that you can have all the information and walk that, so that you can walk that path and see the pattern and know the brick as it's getting laid down and feel it underneath your feet and be really grounded in what the truth is and what the stakes are and what we're actually up against. And to keep the focus there. What are the stakes? What are we up against? Who's our adversary here? How do they win? How do we undermine their tactics and their techniques by putting in place those of ours that we know will work? And a big part of that is raising your voice. A big part of that is letting look. We all went through the whole thing and Mueller did a great report. I'm sorry he did, but Pelosi canned it. Why? Why didn't we follow up on that? Why didn't we have more on that? And they said point blank, it's too complex. People can't get it. So we need to keep raising our voice to let them know. Not only do we get all of what we're up against and what's going on and who the players are and who the generals are that for like insurrection specific, we know who planned this. We know it. It's not just right. We need to keep letting our leaders and our Justice Department know and hear from us that, hey, we know what's going on. We see what's going on. It's happening in front of our faces. Stop telling us it's not what's happening. It's not happening for when it comes to the political side of this thing. And when it comes to the Department of Justice things, fill the void with facts and truth without compromising anything. It's possible. It's very possible to do that, or there wouldn't be a press. There wouldn't be a press podium if the Justice Department could only talk after people were in jail. I can't with that.
It makes no sense.
Right? It's so
our enemies are using freedom against us, though. That's the thing, and there's a real battle there between how much freedom we can allow in a society that still wants to maintain a certain level of democracy, and that's a tough balance. It's really, really tough when you're trying to tell people to, how are you going to stop all these broadcasters like OAN and Fox and all these networks from bludgeoning people with their propaganda, and how do you stop?
We can follow their money.
Class action
I think there's lawsuits, class action lawsuits.
There's ways to do it, I guess. Yeah.
Raising your voice, raising your voice. Never stop raising your voice. My God, what are we doing here if we're not raising our voices?
There's an account, the account Horse Whisperer. He had a great thread talking about Allison's thing, and everybody should go find that and read it, because it's, it could just inject it right into my veins, because he's basically, his point is, look, we all have a voice. Everybody has a voice. It's the one thing that we all actually have. And when it sounds dorky, but it's true, when everybody raises their voice collectively, and it's in a focused, coordinated way, it really does make a difference, which is something that speaking for me, myself, in the last 4 or 5 years, I'm slowly learning, things like, first of all, you have to repeat things. You have to. You can't just be like, hey, here's this great thing about Jared Kushner and blah, 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 and then never mention it again, because people will forget. Yeah. And you see it with the way things play out. Like Sandy Bacon is a good example. She's been talking about the insurrection since the day it happened. She's not going to stop till those people are in jail, and good for her. And that is the model. She's probably tired of it. She probably gets frustrated doing it, but it's super important that she does it, and it's super important that everybody does it. We've done it with Kavanaugh. Okay,
you have
the Kavanaugh.
We're getting results. We're getting results.
You guys really are. I'm so impressed by that. It's such a interesting thing, seeing that bubble up, and it's going to keep bubbling up because there's no way to keep it down. And it's a huge, huge scandal just waiting to erupt.
I sat down for lunch on Tuesday, and I looked at Twitter, and I was, Breaking Brett is trending, and I was like, oh shit, what did I do? I think something.
You did something. You're certainly on somebody's radar, that's for sure.
No,
Mr. Kavanaugh is very aware of you.
But that's the thing. That doesn't trend. I don't make it trend. You guys make it trend.
Yeah.
Right. I'm helping the whatever, but it's a collective effort, is my point. We all have to do it. It's not something that one of us can do. But, I think that there are certain avenues that we can pursue. And I think Kavanaugh is an avenue. That's a weakness for them, and they know it.
Oh,
they
boy.
know
I think Kavanaugh's one of the weakest things GOP has.
Drunk lush is a lying sack of shit, is a weakness.
Yeah.
They know it. They do not want us talking about him. And the piece is, every time something comes out about him, even in the slightest way, I'll write something a little bit different than the thing before that circles back on stuff we already know.
That
and it gets a little closer to the.
Yeah.
That's very smart. And Chris Wray, attached to that little scandal.
That's how you do it.
He's got issues around that
scandal. The Kavanaugh scandal could take out Kavanaugh and Chris Wray, which should be an enormous net positive for democracy.
Yeah, you'd think so. That would be pretty impressive. But there's also just the reality of these people. There's women who obviously have complained about Kavanaugh to the FBI, and that their whole complaints disappeared. I mean, there is a monstrous scandal brewing there that really needs to be exposed, and it will be exposed. There's no ways they can even get into I see how they're going to get into an abortion case or anything like that with this scandal brewing around him. It's just not going to work. And it's just going to keep coming. And I
think the thing to do with this is here's just to give everyone listening advice, because I looked at the thing during the ad break, and people were like, stay on this topic about how there's crossfire, and there's people trying to come in to say, how dare you think you know anything? It's like, well, you don't even know who the fuck I am, so fuck off. How dare you think you can talk to me that way? Like, even engaging like that is just destructive. It's disintegrates, right? It dissipates the core, and we need a really solid core right now that knows how to aim and knows how to fire, and we'll just keep going and going until we break through. So with the Kavanaugh thing, the piece of this is it's not that he's it's Greg and I we didn't start this whole thing way back when, during his actual confirmation hearing, we started doing this, right? Which had nothing to do, I'm just keep breaking up, sorry guys, which had nothing to do with it was before Blasey Ford even. It was like, oh my God, he's a criminal. So the thing about Brett is, it's not his that he's a radical judge, which he is. It's not that he's an extremist, which he is. It's not that he's incompetent on every level. It's that he is. It has nothing to do with that. The fact that he got appointed by a Republican. It's none of that. Like, we can have issues with those other conservative justices, and it can fall into that camp of like, who put them on there and what was their goal, and all these conservative justices. That's not Brett Kavanaugh. Brett Kavanaugh is a criminal. Brett Kavanaugh is a drunk. Brett Kavanaugh is an assaulter. I believe that he's an assaulter, a massive assaulter. And I think there's a lot of things. But most importantly, what we can prove about Brett Kavanaugh is that he's a perjurer.
Yeah.
He's a perjurer. And in his perjury could very possibly be massive fraud and other crimes that he's trying to cover up and not admit to. So this is a criminal. This is a criminal on the Supreme Court.
Who was installed during a criminal
That's
act.
the problem.
Because he should never have been there had it not been for that cover up with Wray and Trump covering up for him. I mean, that's the thing. It's a crime within a crime and a crime.
Yeah,
like it's
listen,
just.
I'm going to say this.
Yeah.
I'm going to say this. We don't even know. This is the focus. I think everyone should. If you want a laser focus, here's your laser focus. So that FBI investigation. When the FBI does investigations, we learn this from Frank Figliuzzi. We've learned this from others. If we listen, they tell us that when it comes to vetting the Supreme Court justices or doing any kind of investigation around a Supreme Court justice for that particular thing, is a different kind of FBI investigation. It actually has a different client. The client is not the American people, if we want to think about it in terms of clients. They're doing that for the office of the presidency, not necessarily the president, I don't think, for the office of the presidency.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
We don't know if Wray provided Donald with a full and complete profile. We know he didn't perform a full and complete investigation, but we don't know what he gave to
He gave
Donald.
him a tip line. He gave him all the tip line information.
We don't know if he did.
We do.
We
I think
don't know
do.
what.
He gave it to the White House.
We know that he had a tip line.
Yeah,
but
he gave
we
it to the
don't
White
know
House.
what. Have you seen it? I haven't seen the product.
I'd love to see it. I think Sheldon Whitehouse said it was the garbage chute that he put it down in the White House. So
there we go.
Yeah,
that's where I'm going. That's my laser.
We need to see it. We need to see it. Absolutely.
We need to see it.
I love what you're saying.
Let's see what actually got in front of Donald. Because if a complete thing didn't get put in front of Donald, then Donald has a right to be pissed at this at Wray. It's like you were supposed to tell me whether this guy was, what's up with this guy.
Yeah, absolutely. Then he's got to.
We don't know
too, of course. But what I like what you're saying about this is you guys have started this fire with Kavanaugh. But we have lots of other people who watch us and follow you guys, and what I found so truly gratifying about doing journalism on Twitter versus doing journalism elsewhere is the crowd, is the ability for people to pile on with additional information and do their own research. And the things about Kavanaugh, have at him, go for it, go after Kavanaugh, research every little bit of his life. We've got thousands of people watching right now. Find an hour in your day. Dig into something about Kavanaugh's life, because I bet you're going to find something interesting. And the same crowd effort that we are doing on so many things, like this story I did about the bear in Pennsylvania. That was a crowd-based story. A lot of the crowd was there helping me get it. That's how you do it. So let's just build on what Greg and LB have started here. Add your voices, change the story, build on the story, make it bigger, and amplify it every time you see it. That's a way you get Kavanaugh out of his office, I think.
I mean, here are some things that he said under oath. Mm-hmm. He said that he paid for the down payment using his thrift savings plan, which had $72,000 in it, and the down payment was 220 something. That's a lie. That's a fucking lie.
Lie.
He said that the Devil's Triangle was a drinking game. Lie. He said boof means something that it does not mean. That's a lie.
Lie.
He said he's never once in his life drunk so much that he blacked out.
Lie.
He could probably even add this week, and it would be a lie. Maybe we don't know.
How do you remember?
Because let's just say I've heard. I don't know. I don't think he's like not drinking these days. I think he's still.
No reason why he would stop drinking.
Okay. Yeah. He said he never ever.
No, he never drank. That's right. He never drank.
Said no.
That's
he
right.
said he drank, but he said he never blackout drunk or anything like that. And he said that he never did any gambling while the entire time he was on the court. He never did any gambling at all, including sportsbook, I mean, the way that he phrased it, it was like if he bet $200 in fantasy football, he's lying. And I don't know.
Yeah. I think we can find out about that. The other thing is in his 2006 hearing, which is what Leahy was trying to bring up and what Cory Booker was bringing up, he also lied about the torture memos and his involvement in that. That's a whole other level of lying. And there's no reason that we can't go back to that and pull that up and start looking at that, as Greg and I did in one of the articles.
So one more thing.
He's a liar. He's a liar under oath.
Yeah.
Just to pivot slightly. people are writing it about Sheldon Whitehouse, Senator Whitehouse, who's doing a great job talking about the dark money.
Yeah.
And I think that's another thing that people can do in terms of the narrative war that we talk about. Okay, I've written about Leonard Leo before. I wrote about him not that long ago, like 6 months ago, 8 months ago or something. I knew the name, but I really didn't know very much about him. If I don't know about him, and he's so adjacent to all this stuff, probably most Americans have never heard of him and don't know who he is and how much power he has and how all this dark money stuff works. And I know a lot of it is complicated, but what isn't complicated when you're telling stories is a character. This guy literally looks like the Penguin from the Batman movie. I mean, he is a movie villain looking dude. And that's the kind of guy that I think doesn't want to be in the spotlight in the way that he could be in the spotlight.
Well, he's going to be in the spotlight, that's for sure.
I suspect that the more light that's shown on him, the more uncomfortable he would get with it. And maybe this whole dark money octopus that he's built will self-destruct. So I think that's also that's a really useful thing. I think the more people know who he is. Now, one of the things I learned from Kurt Anderson, who was on my show a couple weeks ago and reading Evil Geniuses, is they use, everybody says, oh, it's Koch money. Oh, it's the Kochtopus. Oh, it's the Koch brothers. It's almost, Koch brothers is almost like a metonym for all of the dark money. And I think it's really important to start naming who the other forces are.
That's exactly right.
Right.
That
Jane Mayer did a great job
like,
of that in the New Yorker. I was really surprised by the people she put out there in that last piece that she did. You know what? Just to put a little button on this, because I think it's important. Why this is important. It's not about Kavanaugh. It's about the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court is going to have a lot of say about everything going forward. It's going to have a lot of say in every election from now on, because that's just the way the system has now evolved, which is terrible. But it's just that's the nature of our system right now. We need a Supreme Court that's balanced, and we need a Supreme Court that's fair. We cannot have this biased, stacked court that they've put up there with Kavanaugh and all these other crazy people to judge these things, because they're not going to do it ethically. Look what they did with abortion now. It's just, not only is Roe versus Wade going to be an issue for them, not only is every election going to be an issue for them, but freedom in general is going to be an issue for them. And whether we turn into a Christian ethnic state is going to be an issue for them. So we really need to get some balance in this Supreme Court, and it wasn't done fairly by the other side. So this is fair game. This is fair game to go after Kavanaugh and absolutely anyone else that they installed in there when they should have put the people that were due to be in there when they were first nominated by Barack Obama.
Let me put a button on that, what you just said.
Yeah.
The thing that we actually need to stop doing or defeat or point our guns at as well are the voices coming out that are telling us that we don't do those kinds of, we can't just be like they are. Then you just want us to be like they are, right? Like, that's not what we do. No. Everybody needs to pay attention, really pay attention. I've said this, I say this over and over again, but it's one of those things you have to keep repeating. Everyone who has expertise, who has studied it, who has worked even in contemporary sort of oligarchy or fascistic states, all of these experts have been telling us that we are really on the precipice of losing democracy. Mm-hmm. Every single one of them is telling us this. They are raising the alarm. They have been raising the alarm all this time. We need to listen to them and understand that that's the fight. That's the fight. Those are the stakes. Yep. And so no one's saying, do the dirty business that the other side does. That we're saying, stop telling us that by going after the criminality of these criminals, that we're somehow playing dirty. That's their game. They have convinced people that by holding them accountable for their criminality, by going after their dark money sources, by exposing and putting daylight on it, by bringing the truth to the surface, that somehow that's the way, that's a dirty game. That needs to stop.
We have to be thinking out of the box. We have to be doing things differently.
We have to be creative. We have to try things, and we have to hold these criminals to account. Do not swallow the narrative that somehow makes us their equivalent. As I say, and I borrowed it from someone, I don't remember who it was because it was years ago. When they go low, bury them.
Oh, that's a great line. We're going to have to stop there because that's such a good line.
Okay.
But we can go on for a little bit if you want, but we are sort of out of time. But I feel like I'm stopping a great conversation, so I'm not going to do that. Go ahead, Greg.
I forget what I was going to say.
You're going to say that. I could tell you're ready for something.
No, it was something in the. Oh, I was going to say it's not going low. Exactly what LB said. It's not going low to be like, hey, Kavanaugh, who paid for your fucking down payment? Because you didn't tell us. Mm-hmm. We need to know. If it's your dad, fine, but you got to tell us. It's not right, and then playing dirty to demand that we know if our Supreme Court justice is compromised.
But he was installed.
That's not going
installed.
Low. Going low.
Yeah.
Going low is when Brett Kavanaugh himself suggested to Ken Starr, hey, when we're grilling Bill Clinton on the stand, let's read the blowjob details out loud so that all of the American people can hear it.
Right.
That's going low. And that's what Kavanaugh did. That was his idea. Okay. That's the guy that we're dealing with. So it's not trying to figure out who owns and who finances all this shit is not going low. It's what we need to do for democracy to survive. Right.
Yep.
Period.
And then making a demand of our political leaders and our Justice Department and the FBI, head of Director Chris Wray, to bring us the truth about all of that is also not doing what they're doing.
Yeah.
And that needs to stop. Stop shutting down the voices that are calling. You want to be supportive? You want to get behind the people who want to save this country and save democracy? Then help wall us off from this noise that comes at us every time we say, hey, talk to us. This noise of like, you want to compromise the investigation the way that other people compromise. Get in there and fucking shut that shit down with us, right? Because that's an intentional conflation to weaponize us. To turn us into the bad guy instead of fucking Kavanaugh or these criminals from January 6th and the generals. We need to start hearing about this. We just need our leaders and in the administration, on the Hill, in the Justice Department to talk to us and fill the information void, the abyss from all this silence. Fill it with facts, fill it with information, fill it with a communication to the people about how we're going to keep upholding the rule of law in this nation. That we're not going to fucking throw the Constitution. We're not going to just say, oh, it's just too hard. Oh, we don't want to hurt their feelings. And, I don't know what we could do. Oh, what can we do? Right? Because that's how it's coming off. It's coming off.
Somebody wrote a memo in 1970.
Yeah, you're right.
We don't think we can do this. Right? The paralysis, the silence is coming off as paralysis. Mm-hmm. The silence is giving the other side a win, the silence itself, right?
Yeah.
So no one ever has been, and AG wasn't doing this either. No one has ever said to behave the way the other side behaves. All we've said is we're going to keep raising our voices. We know that they need to be heard, and we know that pressure does work. And what we're trying to get to work is not just for action to be taken, but for us to be spoken to. Mm-hmm. Open up your fucking mouths and talk to us.
Yep. And have some accountability. I mean, I just find Chris Wray still being in that position in the middle of a scandal like this is offensive. He should step down, or at least step aside until the investigation's been done. It's not okay for him to be involved in a scandal to appoint a Supreme Court justice who, in an illegal scheme. It's just, he's the FBI director. How can he be there? And I had time for Chris Wray. I mean, I certainly did before this came out, but after this, you can't look at Chris Wray and say, this guy's legit and it should be in that role. How can we have a free and fair investigation into anything with him being there?
Well, we don't know. So we need to see what product he put in front of Donald, right? Because it was ultimately Donald. But if he didn't put a solid product in front of him that was all those thousands of tips, and it was clear, and this is what this guy's into, this is what this guy's done. If there were, I can't imagine that of over 4,000 tips, there wasn't something coming in talking about Brett's lies. In fact, I actually know there were some tips coming in.
There must have been lots of
information. There was a lot of information in there, and I think we need to see it so we can evaluate what Donald got, what he saw, what was the result of that. Jeff Flake was the one who was like, okay, all right, we'll do an investigation. Okay, FBI, let's do it. Right. But we never got to see it. We never learned a goddamn thing about it.
It barely
Nothing
existed.
happened.
It was a blink of an eye, and it was gone.
And why did Jeff Flake do that? Because people raised their voices at him, right?
Because people raised their voices at him.
And this is a thing too. And Zev, I know we want to wind down, but I wrote this in the piece this week. It's the Democrats especially, they need to realize the Kavanaugh stuff is popular. Democrats who take this on and do this will get reelected forever. It's going to be like a thing.
It's actually something you can win.
You want posterity. Your name's going to be in the history book if you can expose this guy. That's it. That's it. Everybody will love you.
Yeah, it's a great issue. It's going to get even bigger. It's got great potential. It can be achieved. I mean, it's actually an achievable goal, and it has significant impact beyond itself. Like beyond getting Kavanaugh out of the Supreme Court would mean a fairer Supreme Court, a more just society, more chance for democracy and freedom to exist. Yada yada yada. It's has all the goodies that you want as a candidate, as a supporter of any candidate. So push your candidates to do that. I do have to go. Unfortunately, I have to go. This is a great conversation. I love tonight's show, as I always do with you guys. But I have to wrap it up. So we'll narratives back now Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. So you got three narratives a week.
Wow.
Prevail is on, and today was amazing with Noel Kassler. You had the whole 9/11 remembrance episode. Tell people about that.
Oh yeah, we did. It was just I was in New York on September 11th. I mean, I was in Midtown when the towers fell, and I wanted to 20 years ago somehow. So I wanted to tell my story a little bit, and I wanted to hear his story because he's a New York guy, and I really wanted to have him on the show and not talk about the Adderall coming out of Donald Trump's nose, which is, I want to talk about something else. That one. And so it was really good. I thought it was a really good show. He's great. Noel's great. He's such a good storyteller.
Amazing guy.
He added so many good stories to it. So
there is a story at the end that was sobbing. There is a story at it. You have to listen to this thing.
You have to listen to the very end.
Really captured it. You got to listen to the end.
People saying great Prevail on the chat as well. And we don't have the next season yet, but I'll ask, when is it coming out?
We don't have the next season yet. I know everybody wants the date. Just understand there's a lot happening with it. And so it's just insane. It's insane. So, I'm so grateful for the success for everyone. I know that it's these followers here that really were the first consumers and elevated it. And I'm so thankful for you guys. It's a very exciting time, I will say that. And I have another project that I'm having to wrap up that I hopefully will be able to talk to soon in the middle of all of this. So, but I'm getting the dates. I'm working with the studio. We're working with there's a whole thing happening. So I'll get you some dates. It's insane. It's great.
Your life. It's unbelievable. So there's that's you don't have an answer, but you're going to get us the dates. So we'll keep.
I'm going to get you dates. Yeah. It won't be before 2022, but it'll be early. It'll be earlier than it'll be fine. You'll be fine. And we're going to re-release some of those episodes in terms of they're all on the platform, and I'll put some promos out there, and I'll keep redirecting everybody to it because it's dense work, and so you can listen to it more than once.
Oh yeah, you have to sometimes. I'd say listen to a couple, and I was like, I have to do this one more time because it's so much story. And I want to thank Matt Falsa again for the opening theme. I'm going to play it one more time as we head out tonight. And be inspired by that. Do something about Kavanaugh this weekend, and do something about Kavanaugh every day. And we'll see you again next week on Narrative. Thanks for being here tonight. Good night, everybody.
Happy birthday.
Thanks, Ev.
Thank you, guys.
Happy birthday.